Hey there. So if you caught our explainer on ParisNeo's Homozius, you know all about that world completely sedated by technology. Well, today, we're jumping into its companion novel, The Folding. And this one, it's the total flip side. It's about a world that decided to take a sledgehammer to all things silicon. You really got to think of these two novels as a kind of dystopian diptych. They both kick off from the same exact moment in our near future, the year 2026, but then they spiral off in completely opposite directions. While Homozius went for that soft, Huxley-style control through pleasure, The Folding swerves hard into a brutal Orwellian nightmare where humanity, totally traumatized by tech, decides to just turn out the lights for good. All right, just a quick heads up before we go any further. We're about to peel back some pretty deep layers of this story, and that means, you guessed it, spoilers are definitely ahead. To get that full, on-the-edge-of-your-seat experience, we seriously recommend you read the novel first. The link's right there in the description, but for everyone else who's ready to see what this is all about, let's get into it. So, let's step into the world of The Folding. This isn't a society that just accidentally fell into a dark age. No, they chose it. This is a world that literally ran screaming from the future and decided to build a new one out of paper, ink, and a whole lot of fear.
So how on earth did things get this bad? Well, the timeline is just brutal and fast. It starts in 2025, when a mutated mad cow prion kicks off a global panic. By 2026, that fear gets weaponized, leading to something called the Great Bonfire, where mobs literally go out and physically destroy the internet. You fast forward to 2048, and Paris is just a ghost of itself, run by a regime that thinks every single calculation is a sin against nature.
But here's the thing, and this is so important. The collapse wasn't just about a virus. As one of the characters, Arthur DuPont, explains, the real trigger was the algorithm. Social media platforms, just trying to optimize for engagement, figured out that rage and fear are way more profitable than happiness. They poured gasoline on the fire, creating this great hallucination where facts just didn't matter anymore, only belief did. And right in the middle of all this is our protagonist, Elias. He's a cog in the machine of this new dark age, a bureaucrat who literally stamps death warrants. But then his own 6-year-old granddaughter, Nora, gets scheduled for what they call preventive neutralization. Suddenly, he has a choice. Does he obey the system, or does he commit the ultimate sin and bring a powerful computer, a piece of that hated old world, back to life to try and find a cure? So that's the setup. But the real punch of this novel is in the why. Why did this happen? So let's dig a little deeper now and really explore the ideology holding this terrifying world together.
And this quote just perfectly captures the mindset of the regime. This comes from the antagonist, supervisor of a land. And it's not just some random villain monologue. It's their core philosophy. They see science not as a path to salvation, but as a kind of poison. To them, purity, even if it leads to death, is way better than any solution that comes out of a machine.
This twisted way of thinking leads to these absolutely horrific policies, like the crime of weakness. Basically, the regime believes that any illness, especially something genetic like diabetes, is just nature's way of keeping the species strong. So, if you try to treat it, you're cheating natural selection. And the punishment for that is death. It's straight up eugenics, just dressed up to sound like some noble philosophy.
And you know, what makes this world feel so chillingly real is how plausible the whole collapse is. The novel basically lays out these 3 huge powder kegs just waiting to blow. You've got social anger from people being replaced by automation, massive economic fear, and the climate crisis. But the match that lit the fuse, that was industrial-scale disinformation. It was the algorithm that took all our fears and weaponized them until violence felt like the only way out.
Okay, let's shift gears for a minute because this is pretty cool. The author, ParisNeo, he's a developer himself, and man, does it show. The novel is just loaded with these amazing technical details that aren't just for decoration. They're a real love letter to the whole maker culture that the regime is trying to stamp out. I mean, just look at this. This is the spec sheet for the machine Elias builds in secret, the monolith. And these aren't made-up names. The Threadripper CPU, that Asus Sage motherboard, compiling a custom Gentoo Linux kernel, these are all real high-end parts. The author even gets into the details of applying thermal paste. That kind of authenticity, it just makes the whole struggle feel so grounded and real. You know, it's not magic, it's engineering. But the geekery actually goes even deeper than that. ParisNeo has hidden all these little clues throughout the story, and you can especially find them in the numbers. They are not random. So what's hiding there in plain sight? Well, the first one is a total classic, the number 42.
It just keeps popping up at these really crucial moments in the story.
And of course, it's a huge nod to The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The secret workshop is called Fab Lab 42, and at a key moment, the cure simulation hits exactly 42% complete. It's this symbol woven right into the story's DNA. In a world that has thrown away all the answers, the ultimate one is quietly being calculated in the dark. Okay, the second key number is the year the story takes place, 2048.
And this is it's brilliant. It's not just a date. It's a reference to that super addictive puzzle game 2048, where you're sliding tiles around, you make one wrong move, one tiny choice, and the whole board can just lock up and collapse. It is the perfect metaphor for how this entire society, through a bunch of seemingly small choices, slid itself right into a dead end.
So we've gone over the plot, the big themes, even the hidden geeky details. But I gotta be honest with you, this explainer has barely scratched the surface. It's like we've shown you the architecture, but we haven't shown you the soul of the machine.
Let me put it this way. What we've done here is give you the blueprint. The novel itself, that's the fully assembled, water-cooled, overclocked final build. The real experience is in the reading.
Because what we just can't translate in an explainer like this is the emotional gut punch you feel from the characters' choices and the regrets. We can't make you feel that chapter-by-chapter tension as they're racing against the clock. And we just can't do justice to the writing that makes this world feel so raw and real. All of that is waiting for you inside the book. So the final question the book really leaves us with is a question for right now, for our world. In a world that's more and more driven by algorithms that are literally designed for outrage and profit, where fake news can feel more real than the truth, are we folding inward on ourselves, or are we unfolding into something better? It's something to think about. See ya.